Hello, it's another lovely day at Gamescom, and Rich here has just seen Warhammer Chaosbane. So Rich, what is Warhammer Chaosbane?
Well, it's at its most surface level. It's yet another Warhammer game. Games Workshop. It's become a meme at this point. Very famously profligate with the license. They're sort of letting everyone and their dog make a Warhammer game, and most of them, many of them, are not great. Warhammer Chaosbane is a Diablo-esque co-op hack and slash isometric action game, and it's actually not bad, which is the surprise. It actually looks quite promising. I was pleasantly surprised.
So it makes a big change from the previous Warhammer games that have come out in the past few years.
Well, naming no names. I mean, obviously there are good Warhammer games like Total War Warhammer, obviously Vermintide. But there are a lot, and some of them are not great. But this one actually is. I mean, Vermintide developed a sort of a cult reputation. Total War Warhammer obviously has Creative Assembly backing it, so those games were always going to be good and going to be scrutinized. But there's sort of this. I mean, maybe Chaosbane is the next one to, like Vermintide, emerge from the pack of also-rans. Because so we've seen so far until Gamescom, all we saw of Chaosbane was a couple of screenshots and a couple of vague promises. It's actually playable here on the show floor. I got to play it with one of the devs, and there was a little bit of a presentation as well. We can talk a little bit about the mechanics, but the way it actually feels to play, it feels very Diablo-esque. They want to make clear that it's they're taking PC seriously, which is exciting. You can play it with a controller, and you can just sort of plug in and plug out, and it'll adjust dynamically to the input that you've got. But you can also play with mouse and keyboard, and they swear that it's going to feel good to play on mouse and keyboard. I got a little bit of a taste of mouse and keyboard. Some of the mechanics that they've got. This one neat trick that it does, which is a little bit different, is you can throw out sort of area of effect abilities, and you can actually move them around. So you can move your character about, and then but abilities you just throw out aren't all fire and forget. So like the high elf mage, for instance, can shoot a ball of lightning, and you can control where the lightning moves with the right stick on a controller. And they've thought about how that's going to work on mouse and keyboard as well, and I think they come out with quite a neat solution. You just hold the spacebar, and then you move it with the mouse, and your character sort of stands a little bit still. And that feels quite intuitive to do, which is nice. But in general, it just feels... So, I mean, again, naming no names because that would be rude, but I remember recently a sort of Diablo-esque Warhammer game that felt just a little bit clunky, and the animations and the models were a bit stiff. The models and the textures weren't quite high res. It had just that look and feel of it's a certain lack of polish, but that's present here. Like the models are really good, the lighting and the atmosphere and the textures are already good. It has that sort of sheen of competence about it, which is nice. We played through the early part of the demo, killing a bunch of Nurgle demons in the city of Null. Interestingly, they say that you'll go to a bunch of different cities in Chaosbane. One of the ones that they named was Prague, another city in the Empire, and each city is going to have a particular kind of chaos god, one of the chaos gods infesting it. So Null is infested with Nurgle, or linked with Nurgle, and some of the other chaos gods will... I mean, I did ask if they're going to use all 4 chaos gods. I would guess they will, but they wouldn't say so explicitly.
You would definitely hope they would use everything at their disposal, right? To make a great piece of content. I
mean, it being Chaosbane, you'd hope that the whole pantheon of chaos is represented. You want... Nurgle's... I don't know about my least favourite, but Slaanesh, Zintuch, Khorne, especially the last two, Zintuch and Khorne, they're really cool. Their aesthetic is really cool. What they stand for, represent is really cool. Their demons are really cool. I want to see some flamers of Tzeentch. I want to see some discs of Tzeentch. I want to see some Khorne bloodletters and juggernauts. Yeah, so, one would hope that all of the Chaos Gods will be represented, but that's not certain. In terms of how it actually plays, we should probably get onto that. We got given 2 of the 4 heroes to play with. There's the Empire Soldier and the High Elf Mage. I was playing the Mage. We know there'll be 2 more. There will be a Dwarf and a Wood Elf, but we haven't seen anything of them yet, not even screenshots. The Mage is like a ranged DPS, You can sort of press and hold one of the attack buttons to cast some sort of low damage bolts of lightning, and they're constant and they'll refill your mana. And then that charges up the rest of your abilities. Like you can throw out, like I say, the ball of lightning, which you can steer around. You can also throw out a dome, which slows enemies, and again you steer that around. And that's a nice little synergy that works with the soldier. So you can drop a dome on a bunch of enemies that sort of slow them down, so the soldier can pick them off more easily. So there's a little bit of class interplay there, it's all quite inventive. The soldier looks like a sort of a melee DPS. I would imagine the dwarf will be the tank, naturally, although not necessarily. I didn't get a close look at some of the soldier's abilities, but he sort of swings and stuff. And you've got, and in his case, his regular attack will build up stamina to recharge, which is the currency that he uses for his other powerful abilities. And they're all mapped to the face buttons on a controller. And there's one other two other mechanics to note. As you attack, you'll fill up your bloodlust gauge, and that you get 3 bloodlust orbs. And when an orb is full, you get to activate some bloodlust abilities, and they're like sort of more powerful versions of your other abilities. So the High Elf Mage throws out a even more powerful version of the electric orb. It's again another manipulable area of effect attack that you can steer, but it's a lot stronger. And the dev told me that there will be different elements and different effects on each of these attacks, the implications of which are not fully clear. And then the last thing is the way you develop your characters. You can build them out with so each character is sponsored by a god. The Empire Soldier is sponsored by Sigmar. I didn't actually get what the High Elf Mage was sponsored by, and this is somewhat embarrassing. Off the top of my head, I can't remember any of the major figures of the Elven Pantheon. Obviously Cain, but that wouldn't sponsor a High Elf god, because that's the negative aspect of the High Elven god of murder. Yeah. Anyway, here we are. There we are, rather. And so you'll pick up these fragments of artifacts and things from killing monsters, from looting chests, and then they'll go towards. So there's a god tree, which is a way to you develop your abilities. And you make offerings of fragments to your god, and that unlocks different nodes on the god tree. It looks a little bit like the Final Fantasy X sphere grid, if any of you guys remember that. And it's just sort of basically a web of nodes that you can choose to develop in different directions. And then, of course, there's gear, which you can swap out and equip, and all the sort of standard tropes of the genre, really. And that's about it. And it looks like yeah, it's a decent imitation of Diablo that's in a Warhammer setting, and has one or two interesting new tricks of its own. But like the fact that it's just a decent, competent, slick-looking and feeling imitation of Diablo in a Warhammer setting is going to be enough for a lot of people.
Yeah. So if you think that Warhammer Chaosbane is going to be for you, give us a like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.